Hello there and good morning. Now, this is how far our politicians of all stripes have forced, yes, forced, this country down. This is just out from GB News and I'll read it to you. The annual Remembrance Day parade will implement their biggest security operation ever to protect veterans amid concerns of terror attacks tied to Middle Eastern tensions and warnings that pro-Palestinian demonstrators may target the event. Yes, that's just come out. All being framed as some sort of external threat. But it's not. These potential terrorist perpetrators are not parachuting in overnight to cause carnage. They are already here, many on the watch lists of the like of MI5. They've been shepherded in over decades by weak, wet, woke politicians and officials. Those politicians and officials have actively, yes, actively made it their business to import ideologies that engage in this stuff. That's where the blame lies. Totally. The terrorists are just taking advantage. And with every day of border inaction that passes, it will get worse. I'm fuming about this. So I'll bring Richard in before I totally pop. Hello,
Hello,
Richard.
everybody. Yes. Now, the more conspiratorial-minded out there might call what we are seeing, especially with the terrorist threat at the Cenotaph, some people would call this a Trojan horse, the conspiratorial-minded, but no. This is just cultural enrichment, Jeff. Don't you understand? And all our veterans know it as well. Our veterans, they accept that their own personal safety may be put at risk as they go to commemorate their fallen friends, because that's all part of living in a diverse and inclusive society, isn't it? We must not discriminate against those that hate us. No. Instead, we should give them priority in social housing, medical care, and put them up in 5-star hotels. Yes. Why wouldn't you? Oh, what's that? Oh, go away, you racists. Yes. No, we as a society must accept that our own personal safety is at risk when we leave our front doors, because there is a demographic out there to whom the value of life is a lot cheaper. I am already having my gravestone made, and it says, Free Palestine, Free Palestine. Yes, that's right. But in all seriousness, Jeff, you are right. We cannot fully blame those who have entered this country for their actions. The blame lies with those that allowed us, the blame lies with the traitors that allowed those that hate us into our country, into Europe and into America. You can't blame a predatory animal for wanting to eat you. It's hard baked into its nature. This is what consecutive Labour Conservative governments have done, though. They've just allowed these predatory creatures, you might say, into the country. Anyone considering voting for the Lib Lab con now has got some sort of thickness of the brain, I have to say. It doesn't work very properly. And if, and I repeat, if there was an order that anyone who enters this country must not follow certain ideologies that require us to assimilate to their way of thinking, then that might, and I repeat, just might, there might have been a different outcome, a different scenario, if that had been put in place. But no, secularist multiculturalism was the altar upon which our society and the safety of our veterans was sacrificed. Cultural relativism is destroyed every time, you see, by the truth of cultural compatibility. Other countries don't think that our Judeo-Christian heritage is compatible with their cultures, so why should we be guilt-shamed into accepting, or at the very least acknowledging, that theirs may not be compatible with ours? It all somehow gets shoved under some sort of imperialist hangover umbrella. Therefore, we should accept anything under this umbrella because of so-called progressive secularist thinking where anything goes.
Yeah.
And I now read in the Daily Telegraph that many veterans who are in danger this weekend, potentially, of a terrorist attack, will now freeze if they don't get that hurt in a terrorist attack. They'll freeze because of the winter fuel allowance cuts. So much for Starmer getting, our troops, our veterans and our former troops off the streets. Winter is fast approaching, and there's been no outlay by Starmer of what he intends to do to house these people. I mean, winter is coming very close. It's getting cold.
Yeah.
But plenty of room for hotels for our newcomers. Yes, 5-star hotels for them. Starmer, Sunak, Johnson, May, Cameron, Brown, Blair, traitors, the lot of them. Yeah. And in times gone by, a monarch would have had a very special and unique way of dealing with them.
Yeah. I'm afraid we've lost a bit of sound from Richard. He may go in a moment. So what I'll do is I'll carry on and just say that what also annoys me is that there's a group of people out there on the woke left that do not want us to have, voting ID. They don't want us to have voting ID, but to get to the Cenotaph, people will need an e-ticket to get into the Whitehall area. They'll need some identification. And once again, bear with me while I get my technical bits going. Where is it? Ah, dear.
Can you still hear me, by the way?
I can now hear you, Richard. Yeah, you're freezing up, and so I'm trying to just find out this quote. Where did I put it? So not only will they need an e-ticket, the former soldiers will be required to show their government-issued photo ID, such as a passport, driving licence, or 2 utility bills to officials. And that's according to GB News. So there you go. And some will need next of kin cards, and no bags will be allowed near the Whitehall area. On top of that, undercover personnel from the SAS and SBS will be mingling with the crowds. So you can see where we're going as a country. We are going to have more of these, what do you call them, demographic traffic bollards and stuff to stop people doing all sorts of things with their cars. This is just getting beyond a joke. This country is in grave danger internally, and we've got politician after politician just wringing their hands and saying, oh, there's nothing we can do. We just need to... And then they put another ring of steel around Westminster, around their homes, around their offices and around their families, and leave the rest of us out here just to take it all. I'm just fed up with a lot of them. They really are not looking after our interests. Yes.
There's something else afoot. There's some other game afoot. It has to be. Why else would they do it?
I don't know. It's just they hate us. They've got this multiculturalism view that I honestly think they view it as some sort of battle thing where we just take all the casualties over the next 100 years, and in 200 years we'll all be living peacefully together. But I don't want that today. I don't want to go through all that. We don't need to go all through that. If people don't want to come here and assimilate and become part of our society, then I'm sorry, they should not come here. If they want to violently change us, I'm sorry, go elsewhere. Oh,
oh no, that's racist, that is, Jeff. You can't say that.
Yeah. Yes, from Lloyd Fletcher. Some cultures are far better than others, especially backward Middle Eastern cultures. Well, I wouldn't just put it into that one. There are some backward Middle Eastern cultures, and there are others that are a bit more cultured than others. And it's deciding when people come into the country, we've got to find out who they are, who they really are, and if they really are a threat. And if that takes some time, and we have to put them in as a group into some form of special area, then so be it. But the rest of us deserve to be safe in our own country.
Yeah. A lot of people say, oh, you can't say backward Middle Eastern culture because that's racist. They call us backward, by the way. We are told that we are backward here in the UK.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's okay,
somebody
though.
else has
That's okay. They
yeah.
can do that. They can call us whatever they like.
Mm.
That's called anti-racism or something stupid, which is in itself racist. There you go.
Well, the thing is, it's like race is meant to be that specifically race. It's about if you're racist, that's to do with your skin color. To have a prejudice against a certain culture is not racism in my book. You know,
Yeah.
as I've said a million times, myself, I have a Middle Eastern heritage myself. Would I go and live there? No. My family fled there.
Right,
My
yeah.
father's side, anyway, mother's side, they're English, but my father's side, they fled the Middle East, never to go back.
Yeah. I wonder if this is Blandy, is it? I wonder if the hotels ever have blackouts. They probably got generators built in by now. Yeah. Oh, here's a good one. Starmer the farmer harmer. Yeah, he seems to be harmer everything. Everybody seems to be. He seems to be out to destroy this country. So yeah. Don't want. Yeah, this is a good statement here. This is not Britain. I'm scared. Yes.
There's a lot of people scared. It's
Yes.
okay, though. I mean, that's okay, apparently, for our elderly to be scared. We have to be more worried about the demographic coming in who hate us, that they might be scared of us. That's the teaching that we are given.
Well,
that's the message we are being sent from our political leaders,
yeah.
that they, and the king, incidentally, the king said we must be more welcoming.
Yeah,
He
did.
actually said that. I'm like, okay, Your Majesty, people are starting to, well, question your validity to the throne, your claim to the throne even. That's been questioned for some time, your lineage there. Yeah, well, that's another story.
But the whole thing is that everybody in the establishment blob just disregards the British people. They don't want us to even think of ourselves as British. They don't want to think of ourselves as English, Scottish, Welsh, or Irish, anything. They want us just to be good global citizens, do as we're told, don't consume, don't use energy, go and sit at home and watch the government-controlled media. That's all they want from us. Go dutifully to work every single day and just take what you're given, because that's as all as you deserve. It really is just chilling the way we're going. Off topic, sorry, but what about that Boots advert? I haven't actually seen the Boots advert. I don't bother with those things. I'll have to look that one up and see. I bet it's got something in it that's a bit woke, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It's just every advert is right now. Every advert.
Every advert is, yes.
I can't watch them anymore. Who is this? I mean, most people who look at these adverts, let's face it, in Britain, you see some of the, I'm not going to say what it is about those adverts that is annoying, but we all know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And just look at those adverts. It's, who buys that stuff? It just puts me off. I don't want to buy anything from half these places because I look at the advert and I go, no, I don't like what you're representing. I don't want to spend my money there. Something Nick Tenconi, incidentally, has raised a very good point about.
Yeah.
It's our money. We should start choosing where we spend it. Because if we continue to spend it with, let's just say, people that work, for instance, inside the black economy, then we are creating a moral hazard for ourselves there at that point. So stop taking certain takeaways and the delivery services attached to them, and go to your local fish and chip shop, maybe. And if you're going to have junk food, that is, but you know, that's what you do.
Well,
and also consider the companies that we buy from. Fish and chips
is health food, especially the batter and the chips.
Don't. I'm early days back on the lion diet, and I am carnivore lion diet. I am craving fish and chips, I can tell you. Never mind.
Yes. Here we go from Evola's sunglasses. Cheap labour at all costs. Liberal democracy is just a rule by international finance and the merchant class. Yes. It's they use our system against us. And at the moment, the biggest one that's being used against us is our own human rights laws. It keeps our human rights at bay while letting everybody else use their human rights to basically walk all over us. And that can't possibly be right. It can't. Yes. Yes, they should have water cannon and police handy, says Tamsin. Why has this been allowed to happen? It's been allowed to happen because the government, the machine, the establishment, and all the people in the global organizations like the WEF and the UN want it to happen. They do not care about us. They never have cared about us as individuals or about individual countries. They just want a global population that they can control and move about as they need to work. That's all they want. And as you've seen, they then want, Richard keeps popping in and out, doesn't he? Then they want the people to die once they've gone over a certain useful age. And that's where we're going with all this, attacks on pensioners, attacks on heating and all the rest of it. This is where it all comes from. They are picking on the vulnerable for disposal, I suppose. It really is, they're beginning to signal where they want to go.
Yeah.
Right. This is interesting from Felipe Castro. As an immigrant, I totally agree. Yeah, when people come here and they fit in and they do their best to help the country and not just themselves, when they fit in and become productive and part of society, I've got absolutely no problem at all. What I have a problem with is when people come here and start dictating to us and start demanding that we change our foreign policy, for example, to fit their narrow minority views. That's when I have a problem. And we shouldn't be allowing it. We should just not be allowing it. Too many protests by these people.
Racist. Sorry? Racist.
Yeah, racist.
Free Palestine.
I like this one. Starmer doesn't want farmers growing sausages. I bet that's what he thinks happens. I bet you he thinks that sausages grow on trees. You know what I mean? That's as much as a
vegetarian
farming. Sorry?
Isn't he a vegetarian?
Is he? Yes, he is, isn't he? Is he a vegetarian?
I think Starmer might be a vegetarian. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty much certain he is. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. That would explain a lot, wouldn't it?
Anyway, I mean, I can see a bit of tension between King Charles and Keir Starmer, especially if he's after sausages with the king's fingers. So yeah, he'd be after them.
He might ban them. Yeah. Oh dear. Here's one. I always remember the 11th of November because of family. I try to relay my great-grandfather's story when I donate to the Royal British Legion. They get a bit sickened sometimes. Yeah, it's the horrors that our forefathers went through. We now sort of look back on them, and some of them were young men who never had children of their own. They never had a life. They left school and suddenly found themselves in the trenches. They may have had a job for a short while, heaved out in both world wars and went into the trenches or went into the tanks, went into aeroplanes, and they got killed, maimed, and all the rest of it. And what we're doing now is we're just saying, who cares? That's history. We're just now going to let everybody come in and invade us. And you just wonder why did they bother? What is going on? This isn't the country that I'm sure this isn't the country that they would have wanted to see.
No, anyway. I've said many times, if you could go back in time and grab one of those young men before they went over the top in the trench and say, this is what Britain's going to be like. This is the country you're fighting for. Would they go over the top? They'd be horrified. They would be utterly disgusted, horrified by it.
I think they'd probably still go over the top to defeat what they saw in front of them. There were horrors on the other side, especially the second time. Yeah, definitely. But and when that all came out, I mean, they had to go through horror to stop a horror.
Yes.
Anyway, what's this one? Malky, as much as I have doubts about reform, at this point, they are the only ones likely to stop the madness. Well, we've had this conversation lots and
Yeah,
lots and lots of times, whether reform is the vehicle. I'm hoping that over the next week, we will see things start to move on the right of politics. It has to. We must begin to start working closer together, coming together, and getting rid of some of these differences. It's really, really important.
absolutely. I've had a guts full of it myself, looking at the situation. All we've got is one party, one potential party that could do this at the election. I mean, is UKIP going to be ready? Will it be too much of a splitting of the vote? Potentially. But at the same time, reform has to start representing us in a more significant manner, I think, in a more meaningful way. Yeah.
Only Israel is not backward. Well, there's a statement, isn't it? I mean, it's probably it's the only proper democracy I know of. Although I was told that in Iran they do have elections and women can vote in Iran, but I'm not sure if how free the vote is.
Situation. It's horrific, the situation in Iran. You've basically got an entire populace that are under siege by the mullahs, and that's it. That's it. You see there's girls, women. The bravery of the Iranian women is, I mean, comparable with those people who went over the top in World War One. And I mean that, because when they take their headscarves off in public, there's a Facebook page, I don't know if it's still going, called My Stealthy Freedom.
Yeah.
And in that, women in Iran, they take off their head coverings, knowing that they're going to get beaten, arrested, and some pretty horrific things if they survive.
And they're very, very brave young women. Very brave.
Incredibly brave. And they don't want it. They don't want anything to do with the software of that country, I will call it, but not diplomatically. They don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
But in the West, unfortunately, there is a thing where we've got this view of Iran, okay? I'm not saying this, on the Middle East, because the trouble is that the people who are coming here from many Middle Eastern countries are not of that ilk. It's almost like they're exporting. It's almost like an army.
Yes.
Say no more.
Yes, and from Raven, when surplus military housing is now occupied by our visitors, you know they care not one jot for our veterans. Well, speaks loads, doesn't it? Did Jeff serve in the army? Good Lord. No, the senior service, the Royal Navy, thank you very much. Yeah. We need local defence leagues. Well, see, this is actually a problem. You can't form sort of militias and things in the UK, uniformed things that are not government and not agreed or not approved, unless you are of a certain demographic and you have your own uniformed people. Do you remember the BLM? They had people marching about in unison, doing drill in London, uniformed up. No one turned a hair. No one said anything about it. Yeah. But you try doing that. You try doing that in the UK as a normal person getting together with a few mates in the middle of a town and going marching about. They'd just call you Nazis and the rest of it. Yeah,
isn't it illegal?
That's where we are.
Is it illegal to form? Is it illegal to form a militia now? That's the question. That's the question I have for you.
I believe it's against the law to parade like an armed force without approval. Yeah, that's what I've. Anyway, I'm going to now tell you a little bit of good news on the anti-terrorism front, and that is that the Qatar government is reportedly kicking the Hamas leadership out of its country. Now, the Hamas leadership controls billions. So I would assume that those billions would also leave Qatar and not be spent there or invested there or used there or put in their banks. So why are they doing this? Well, Trump has come under pressure from 14 Republican senators to compel the surrender of Hamas. And what they want to see is the freezing of assets of top Hamas officials in Qatar. Now, this surprised me. I thought that should already have happened, shouldn't it? Wouldn't the US already have done that? No, not under Joe Biden. They didn't. They didn't freeze those assets. And these 14 senators want that to happen. They want the leaders of Hamas extradited out of Qatar, including the Khaled Mashal, the latest one who's been temporarily put in place, I believe. And they want Trump to demand that Qatar stop hosting Hamas. Now, Trump isn't even in power yet. He's not. He's not going to be in power till January the something or other. So he's still got a few weeks before he's even in power, but he's already exerting influence. It already seems to be working. And Trump has already said that the US hostages had better be sent back before he gets into office. He set out, he stamped, bang, they better be back before I get in. So he's already having an effect.
Hostages, or the Israeli and American, all hostages from...
Did he say all hostages?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
if he did.
No, that's what I was asking. Did he say all hostages?
Oh, no,
just the American?
the report I read, it specifically said US.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
well,
but if they're going to release the US ones, they may as well release all the others as well. And the one UK hostage they've still got, which everyone forgets about as they march about London demanding from the river to the sea. Yeah.
This is what sickens me, right? Israel did agree that there would be some peace talks, and a possible ceasefire if they release the hostages. Have they released the hostages? No. Well, what does that tell you about Hamas? They don't want peace.
No, and Qatar is now putting pressure on Hamas, saying that you're going to leave unless you do hand back the hostages and come to some sort of deal. If you don't, you have to leave Qatar. That's the effect Trump. That's the Trump effect. So that's good.
Well, if he makes it in power.
Yeah. Here's one from Debbie Langton. Iran was a Christian country. Go on, Richard, you tell us.
Christian. It was definitely Jewish. It was. The main religion of Iran was Zoroastrianism, Zoroastrianism. Freddie Mercury, incidentally, his family were Zoroastrians, and Christian. It's the fastest growing church in the world in Iran right now. Christian church. That is something which should be noted. It is a country that is quite set aside from the rest of the Middle East. It is a very different culture there historically as well. A lot of I'm not going to go on about Iran singing its praises because there's a lot of very bad things, as we know, about the country. Yeah. And it's just very, very sad. But what happened in Iran, though, Maya Tusi's mentioned this a few times. Don't forget, it seemed almost inconceivable what happened during the Iranian Revolution, where you had fundamentalism take over. But it's a very similar situation to what we find now, where you had an alliance of the far left and you had an alliance of extremists coming together, and that was it. That's all it took. And a little bit of money from the CIA, incidentally. And no, that isn't a conspiracy theory. That is Ronald Reagan himself admitted that in a speech. So he said it was the biggest mistake they ever made, which was basically deposing the Shah of Iran. Now, was the Shah brilliant? There's a few things that he didn't get quite right, we'll say, and he was a bit extravagant. Yes. But compared to what Iran is living under now, his son now, the prince, you might say, of Iran, he's starting to make some moves in, I think. And there's a lot of support for it within Iran. People don't realize, in Iran, at football matches, if somebody might wave a Palestinian flag, the rest of the crowd will be on them saying, you can shove that, you know where. And that's what the crowd are chanting. You can watch it on YouTube. And our perception of how Iran views us is very different to what the reality is. Our perception, however, is very correct of how the Iranian regime view us and some of the people that they are probably sending across to us. This is why you're not seeing women and children. Where are they? Where are they? Where are those people crossing in the boats from across the channel with a lot of money? It's not cheap, incidentally. Bloody hell, I haven't got enough money to be a refugee to cross over here. I haven't got that kind of money in my bank account.
Yeah, not many people have.
No.
Yes. No, anyway, yeah, so really going back to the topic, it really just saddens me and angers me that we've got to a situation where Remembrance Day has to be treated like a military event, and and has to be guarded, and protected from people who wish to do us harm. They're in this country. We've allowed them in. We've let them in by voting people in to government who have just allowed it to happen. They've been weak. They've been woke. They haven't said no. They haven't deported people. Yeah. And so because of that, we are now in danger. We're now in danger because of that.
Well, we're the ones now who have to assimilate, you see. We have to assimilate to other people's way of life. But it never used to be this way. I lived in Riverside in Cardiff for a while, and it was multicultural community, but it worked. Except for one community within that. And that's it. That's all I'll say. But one community there didn't work. The others did. I used to love, the fantastic Chinese supermarket there. And you had so many different. It was a lot about food there. There was a big food, and there was a bit of a passion going on, and there was a pride in that sort of multicultural aspect of the. You see, sometimes it works. It just seems that there's one part of this that isn't assimilating. That's the key, though. Everyone wanted to assimilate. Everyone was there in Wales, coming together with those cultures and bringing them together, except for one, and I can't think of the name of it.
Yes. Put it on the table says, absolute disgrace. I will be wearing my poppy with pride and showing my respect. They aren't spoiling it for me. Thank you very much. Yes, that's exactly the attitude we need. Get out there, show your poppy, and wear it with pride, and go and pay respects to the people that went through an absolute hell on earth to give us what we have today, or what we should have today. But we've been let down by politician after politician and official after official looking for an easy life, an easy way out. And they've lied to us throughout all of this telling us how much of a benefit all this is. And now we see it right before our eyes. This is the benefit. Having the SBS and the SAS and armed police having to wander through a remembrance parade, keeping their eyes out for terrorists. Terrorists that are now among us because of that.
Yeah, maybe they should give some of those veterans a gun again. They'll protect themselves and this country. I know there's a lot of veterans right now, many veterans in this country who would gladly pick up arms to defend it.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, I think we've said enough about that. We've had a good old chinwag, and I want to go and do some shopping. Anything extra, Richard?
What, you're going to do some shopping for me? Can you get me a pint of milk there, Jeff, will you? Yeah.
I'm not coming all the way to Wales to give you a pint of milk.
Oh, thanks. What a friend. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone, please, do like this video. Press the like button. It helps us. It really does. I know it's like, like it, and subscribe. Most people who watch YouTube videos aren't subscribed to channels. If you subscribe to this channel and select the all option, it's going to make our lives a lot easier, and it means we can get on and do more videos and to help grow the channel, because that's what we want to do. We enjoy doing this, and we also believe in this country, and we do believe in Britain. For a long time, I personally didn't. I was one of the many out there who didn't believe so much in Britain. I was more interested in Wales and in my own little local community. But eventually you do find that sometimes there is a greater threat to your nation, and all of a sudden you have a bit of a wake-up call. So if I had a wake-up call, let's wake everyone else up. Let's get some pride back in this country. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't know the arguments we've had over the years about whether we should have a country or a county. And Richard was all I'll just defend my county. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there is still an allure of that.
I know.
I like my democracy to be one pitchfork in length away.
That's right.
It. I want accountability.
Accountability. Pitchforks make accountability, don't they?
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, everybody out there, please take care. And if you're going to London tomorrow for the event, please stay safe. I hope you stay safe and just keep your eyes open, because if they're not going to protect you, then we're going to have to protect ourselves, aren't we? So there you go. And apart from that, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Bye.